Welcome.
Hi.
Hey, we are so glad you're here. So we're talking to you about the new moon, and this is the actual first new moon of 2021. So there's a lot of energy coming through. I know that a lot of you are very sensitive beings and have noticed that the energy is just massively upgrading and shifting, and some of you may be, as an empath, not know what to do with that. Some of you have maybe more experience in processing and moving energy. So we're going to share with you some intentions for you and ways to set intention for the new year and the new moon and this new earth, new 5D energy. And we'll also do a card pull for this next cycle between the new moon and the full moon. So I'm Lisa Ware.
I'm Jamie Ray.
So we are the founders of the Temple of the Sacred Heart, and we are just going to share with you some tools today. So just hang out, grab a cup of tea, and this will be not a super long live, so we're just going to start with a card pull just to set the intention, and then we'll share with you a few tools that we have talked about maybe briefly in the past if you've caught some of our last video, but we will also share with you a new tool as soon as we do our card pull. So I'm gonna clear these cards. So this is the overall intention of the energy right now. Oh, there you go. Interesting. Okay, release. So that's perfect. So this one is the release card. It says the autumnal equinox on it. However, that's not necessarily relevant because we're not in the autumnal equinox, but the energy of that is, like the releasing of the leaves, the releasing of anything that's needing to be shed. The snake is the medicine that's happening right now. And so I'll talk to you a little bit about that. Do you want to talk about the release card and share?
Look, the surrender, the voidal space, being in the unknown, and just surrendering to the process.
So release is, oh wait, it would be under autumnal equinox probably. I'm looking at the R's.
Oh.
So yeah, like when the leaves shed, that is a time, you might have to read that because I cannot see that. That's a time when the trees, obviously, the deciduous trees lose their leaves. So we are in the middle of winter here where we're actually been in that release process for a while. And now it's time to really go into that deep hibernation. Last time we talked about the bear and the hibernation phase. We're fully in that. We're still in that void. So honor yourself by allowing yourself rest, allowing yourself a reprieve from the outside world. If you get bombarded with a lot of energy when you go out, maybe consider ordering your groceries online, maybe combining your tasks so you don't have to go out into the world as much. When you do, protect yourself and really mainly turn yourself off from the bombardment of all of the programming that's happening right now. So if you've gotten sucked into politics and all the drama and the Capitol and all that shit, step away, make yourself a salt bath, clear yourself, smudge your house, smudge yourself, smudge your pets, smudge your family. We taught you how to make smudge last time. And so if you want that recipe, you can pull up our last video for the full moon. So yeah, so this releasing process is continuing. It's not over. It's definitely not over. It's continuing. So go ahead. I'm going to read this. What'd she say?
Okay.
Oh, hey, so good you're here.
So the release in many of the areas of the world, the deducus, what is it? I can't say that word.
What? Where the trees?
Deciduous.
Oh, the deciduous trees.
Deciduous. Deciduous trees prepare for the winter and conserve their energy by contracting their life force. That is, they release their leaves, which have required the rays of the sun and nourishment from the earth in order to maintain robust growth and appearance. It's not a decision the trees make, at least not in the usual sense. Instead, it's a natural response to the decreasing cycle of light that sets up the gradual and steady release of the tree's leaves. How remarkable it is that these trees, and for that matter, all of Earth Mother's children, simply know what to do with the changes in climate. Although this seasonal shift appears to be a death of sorts, it's only a preparation for the next cycle of life. One that will naturally follow the more extreme contractions of winter as an aspect of the life-death rebirth cycle that we find represented in so many different ways.
Yes, absolutely.
Now is the time to let anything in your life fall away that is no longer useful or needed for the emerging expression of who you are. Allow yourself to gradually shed what has become burdensome and no longer congruent with your soul's purpose. Conserve your energy by allowing yourself more rest while at the same time making preparations for the winter season. Look especially at your material possessions and be brutally honest with yourself as you discern which of these can be given away or somehow released. Consider shedding relationships that have served their purpose and are no longer viable, as well as work or a job that has become devoid of interest and passion. With release comes a sense of being much lighter, just like the trees that openly bear their nakedness once their leaves have departed and give room for whatever new life is ready to birth following a period of quiet and gestation.
Yeah,
so
like
let
the
go.
Womb space, the gestation in the womb,
Yes. So let go of whatever has outlived its purposefulness and trust that something else will take its place.
Let's move to that.
Oh, I mean, it's just... It said it pretty well. Like, just the shedding, right? Just releasing all of these items. I myself have been letting go of many items, like going through closets and drawers and purging things out. Just, oh, don't need that anymore. Let that go. Just move it away so it opens up more space, more energy for for creativity and diving deeper into freeing myself for what's to come for my life's journey.
The key is the space, like she mentioned, because if you don't have space, you can't pull in what the universe is trying to give you. Like if your cup is already full, you can't put more in it. So you have to make room in that space, and part of that making room is stepping into that gestation period and going into the womb, and just like we talked about with the bear, stepping inside and just allowing yourself the opportunity to withdraw. The winter is always perfect for withdrawal because of course it's cold in most climates unless you're blessed enough to live in a tropical climate. But in most climates, it's just, you layer up with more clothes, you snuggle up with more blankets. It's a time where you sit with a cup of tea and a puzzle, or, something that's not necessarily outward flowing. And so in that inward process, it prepares us for the spring. So a lot like the snake, I've been studying with Sandra Ingerman, and she's a really amazing shamanic practitioner, and today I was listening to a lecture from her about the snake, and then her co-author Lynn about the oxalis, which the oxalis is kind of like the clover. Many of you who are gardeners are familiar with oxalis, but it's also called sorrel, wood sorrel, and sorrel is actually an edible herb. It's really lemony and pungent, and actually I found out today you can put it in your salads, but a little bit goes a long way. And so it's that both of those aspects are shedding. So the oxalis actually, and I have oxalis, which is really interesting because that came up in the lecture today. I have an oxalis that my mother left me. when she crossed over. It's still hers. So it's the one that's on my windowsill.
Mm-hmm.
So it went into a hibernation. Like I can literally watch that oxalis and I know the rhythm because, like she mentioned, the trees just know the light. They know the amount of light is decreasing. They know it's time to release those leaves. The oxalis, my husband asked me, he's like, is it dead? I'm like, no, it's just hibernating. And it has like these little tubers, like little nodules. The roots run really deep, but in the little tubers, it just pulls in all of its energy into its source, and it goes deep into the soil. And then as soon as it feels the return of the light, which was amazing, on the winter solstice, it started to come back out. It's like, it just knows. Like, how do they know? You know, they just know. The plants are so wise. And so that's why we work so much with the plant medicine, because the plants are the greatest teachers on this planet. They're the oldest ones other than the stone people. And the stone people are more inanimate than the plants are. The plants are very animate. And so sitting with the oxalis, you'll learn that the cycle of closing up, even when it gets too much light. Like some of you may have the experience where you're just exposed to too much and you just have to close up your little leaves. And the leaves are shaped like hearts. If you can imagine a clover, it's like a large clover, but it's red on the outside and green on the inside. And then it has these tiny little, they call them fairy bells. They're tiny little white flowers that come out of them. And the flowers they're actually really resilient. And some people think of them as weeds. But, you know, anything that's resilient in nature can be considered a weed, right? Because it can be invasive. But oxalis just spread from the tubers and they just spread underground. But that all happens in the hibernation phase, like where you can't see it happening above ground. So allow yourself that time to go into the earth, go into yourself, hibernate, and allow those, you know, all those tubers to grow and populate. And then when the return of the light and the warmth comes back and the light comes back, then you'll be ready to rise up and pop up with your beautiful little flowers.
Yes. And I want to speak to actually the being, right? So as it was talking about it with the card, how the tree doesn't, it's just being itself in the process. It knows intuitively, like it has that connection. We all have that within us, and just allowing ourselves to just be instead of do. The do can get in the way of the actually just being, which is where the creative process comes in, right? We can really find our gifts and the things that we really truly love to do, where our passions are. So
the creativity is so important right now in this phase. You know, a lot of people are picking up like things that our mothers used to do and our grandmothers used to do, crocheting and needlework and knitting and textiles, you know, a macrame and crafting, and those things that, you know, they don't have an outcome. You don't have a purpose to do it. You don't have to do it. It's a heart thing. It's something that brings you joy. And it's also something that you can do as a meditation. Like if you think about the act of sewing, my mom was a quilter, and, you know, just running the needle like this is the figure 8. And that's weaving into the infinity. Like literally that is the motion of weaving us into the cosmic web. In Reiki, we teach that movement to, you know, intertwine us into the cosmic field. And so that's a movement that's used a lot in energy work, but it's something that's natural to women for eons, you know, creating leather work and bead work, and it all requires that motion. And so anything that requires that ability to just be and be still, it's a lot about the stillness right now. Anything else on that?
I think that
pretty clear.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's talk about the snake. So the snake is also about shedding, about transformation.
Yes.
So the snake is the sacred spiral, the divine feminine. The snake, you might have seen, obviously the spiral is the Kundalini energy, the sacred divine Shakti energy that rises when it's awakened. Hey, thanks for joining. They also, you might have seen some depictions of, like in ancient art and like drawings and things that the snake eats its own tail.
The Ouroboros.
Right. So you want to talk about what that means? Like
The
cycle?
infinite cycle of death and rebirth. It's just a constant looping, and it is within all things.
It is. And so like in the Native American teachings, which we talk a lot about in our shamanic work with the temple, the medicine wheel is so vital to, you know, really having that deep, deep, deep connection to nature. And it is through that wheel of medicine, which we'll do a workshop here this year on the medicine wheel and the cycles. But if you can think about your path, your soul path, going from south to north on the compass. And then if you think about your life path going from east to west on the compass. So the east to west is the red road, the south to north is the blue road, and the blue road is the path of the soul. And as the soul is born, it starts in the south, it starts in the child, it starts in the joy and the playfulness and the tricksterness and the energy of the coyote. And as you move and progress through that path, just like the snake eating its tail, you go through that cycle, but you end up at the north end of the wheel. And the north end of the wheel is the medicine of the ancestors. The great buffalo sits at the north end, holding that energy and that space for us as we transform that, you know, where the snake is shedding and leaving its body, but again, then it's going to come right back. And so then it starts again where the next wheel touches this north part of the wheel you're leaving, touches the south part of the wheel you're entering. So then again, you're right back in that cycle. And it's an infinite cycle, which also many of you have studied sacred geometry. It's the flower of life, you know, and all those wheels are totally and completely cosmically interconnected. And that's why those serendipitous moments happen. Like, I know that person, you know, I know that person, I know that path, I know that thing that's, you know, that's being put in front of you. It's not a coincidence. And so just being more mindful and paying more attention to those symbols that the universe is giving you, because the universe doesn't speak English. So you're not gonna like get like a clear, nor does shamanic work give you pictures in your mind like an artist would paint. You have to go into your sensory system and feel that within your soul, within your body, and you have to just practice getting quiet so you can see what that feels like.
It's all in the heart. So like I do get the visuals in the head space, or like in like the mind's eye, right here, but they always come from here. They're not like self-created. They come up from the heart, and then or I hear things, but it comes up from the heart space, mm-hmm. and then rings in the ear, and you can feel that that preliminary activation in the heart,
right.
And then get the visual or the message.
That's a good way to discern. You know, I mean, you have to have discernment, because otherwise you're like, am I just making this up? You know, like it really does feel that way.
Right.
And so you have to think, okay, wait, would I normally think that? No, that's not even anything that has even occurred
right.
to me.
Right.
Or and don't think you have to look for visuals or hear audible, like, you know, you're not going to have Moses in the burning bush, probably not, because that was like a biblical, like a massive teaching, right? So that's probably not going to happen. So you have to be more just listening to the little things. And so that's why you start looking for signs in nature. You start looking for animals that cross your path. You start paying attention to the cycles of the trees, listening to the cycles of nature, watching the cycles of the plants, like the oxalis is such a teacher, you know, and the plants will teach us, but we have to just get quiet and still. So with this new moon, we have the opportunity to really lay out the intention of what we really want our life to look like. And I'm not even talking about like the next 2 weeks, okay? I'm talking about your existence on this planet until you perish and move on. Like the whole of that. What does that look like?
We're at a reset.
Totally.
We're at the reset. So this is setting the stage for at least the next 20 years, if not, which will obviously set the rest of our journey here on this planet. So but the next 20 years specifically is really rooted in what shifts have taken place and everything that comes, which will, you know, kind of determine where we go as a species.
Right. And this is the work we're doing for our great grandchildren, our great nieces and nephews, the ones that are yet to be born. We are creating this platform for them to do the work. So by shaking out all that stuff, I mean, on a political level, holy crap, it is shaking out. It is shaking out. Yep. Which brings us to the next teaching, which we have here. So you want to share about that?
Sure. So the rattle, it is also used for energy, movement of energy, clearing, creating a tether of sound frequency. It can help actually get the kind of click you out of the mind and come into just the following the sound, the rhythm of it, and allow you to really open up to what messages may be out there. So if things are a little chaotic or something, getting still and just coming into myself, I will sit or I'm usually standing actually, but I can move with the rattle, and it helps just clear, just kind of washes it away, and then I can come. It's a meditation essentially. So it's just with a sound frequency.
It's a driver, a sonic driver.
Yes.
So the sound drives it deep into your soul. It surpasses the mental capacity to process it, and it brings you into the heartbeat of the mother, our planet, Pachamama. Mm-hmm. And so as we get in rhythm with Pachamama, that 432 megahertz, that reset of completely drawing within her heartbeat, this is what we do in our work. You can see how a chant would just go right along with that. You know, that sound, when we work together, you know, we'll drum and chant together, just intuitively allowing that energy to flow back and forth, in ceremony and such, song circle.
Yeah, you can feel how quickly that just completely shifts everything, and you just kind of come into this.
Yeah, you just drop in, and it drops you right into the heart.
Yes.
Our own heart, and then tethering it down into the heart of our mother, Pachamama Gaia, which is why we're here doing this work. You know, we are here working on our own stuff, releasing our own shit, so we can get out of the way. You know, we have to get out of the way so we can be a clear channel. And so that is, you know, our clearest intention to do this work through the temple, to be the clearest channel of divine light, to bring through the energies and transmissions and teachings that source is desiring for us to receive right now on this planet, not only for our own healing, but our own healing is a wonderful byproduct. Our own joy is a wonderful byproduct, but the larger intention is that we're healing the planet. We are creating enough light frequency to balance out all of the other stuff. So we need y'all out there doing this work to balance out all the chaos that's out there. There's literally not as much chaos out there as you think, because they are just, the propaganda is put out there and put out there and put out there and put out there. So it's just literally repeated information over and over and over. And it's amplifying it. It's just such a charade. I mean, my God, it's a charade. You know, if anything that happened this last week, if you did see any of the images, come on, you know. So it is literally, yes, they're marionettes on a string playing out the roles. Regardless of who is pulling the strings, they're playing the roles, you know. And so we are here to pull in the truth and to bring in the light and to honor the path of shamanism and Reiki masters and healers. And I, you know, received from one of my sacred sisters this morning, you know, that those words have been used in persecution, and you know that some of these people that were associated with the crazy people, you know, that were causing these problems, they are attaching them to the names of powerful healers. And this really, it reminds me of what happened to Jesus. You know,
the distortion.
It's the distortion.
Yeah.
You know, he came in pure love, the purest form, yet he was persecuted, you know, more than any other human that we've really had written about. Because of his teachings, he walked through the fire, and that was the path. And that is the path of the healer is not an easy path, and it's not going to be all roses.
A lot of thorns.
There's a lot of thorns. I'm telling you, the rose, she will draw blood, and it's okay, you know. But again, the blood is given back in honor, you know, and it doesn't have to be like it did in battle for all the eons where you actually literally had to give your life. You know, many of us were warriors in previous lives, and we did have to do that, but that doesn't have to happen this time. It doesn't have to be that severe. Like, we can learn the lesson, you know, receive a prick from the rose, give the drop of blood, honor that, you know, even with our own moon phase as women, releasing the blood and releasing it to the earth and allowing that shedding and that releasing again, you know, that release cycle in the feminine nature is innate.
And it loops back around
every cycle. And you know and if you're in touch with your own body, you'll know that cycle. And you know, my cycle personally is attached directly to the moon phases, directly to the equinoxes and the solstices. And you know, when the energy is shifting like that, it just, you know, the blood cycle comes. And so, you know, you can honor that instead of thinking about it as an inconvenience. Think about it for what it really is, that shedding, that releasing. And then again, you have the rebirth, you know. So we'll do one more card pull as we close. And this one is a soul coaching. You want to do this one?
Sure.
There it is.
Look. Right.
Oh, there. Okay. Just this one.
Oh, but look, I think it's both.
Okay. All right.
It's,
yeah. Good. All right.
It's
okay.
both.
Good. Yeah.
And look, the
All
blue
right.
and the red. Okay. All right. So the power and the playfulness. So let's see. Let's look at the power card.
I am a radiant, glorious, powerful being. Just say that. I am a radiant, glorious, powerful being. I am a radiant, glorious, powerful being. Say it out loud. I am a radiant, glorious, powerful being. How does that feel? Did you have to whisper it? Did you feel afraid to say it? Say it with some power. I am a radiant, glorious, powerful being. Aho. Sometimes it's hard, even though that's our truth, right? It's hard to say it. And like, you might be in an office where you're watching this and you're like, oh my God, someone's going to hear me say that, you know? What, you know, so you are a radiant, glorious, powerful being. Claim it and say it.
And then you empower others as well. Because if somebody hears you saying it, then they're like, oh, well, like, it's permissioning. You permission self, you actually permission other. And so on. Because the endless loop, right?
The butterfly effect.
So, power. Card meaning, express your strength with grace and take back your power. It's safe to own your gifts. Accept that within you is a place of divine strength and inner ability. Your soul wants you to know. This card appears when you're ready to stand in your power. If you've lost or given away your authority to someone or something else, it's now time to reclaim it. If you're holding on to limiting beliefs, or if you're afraid to being shunned, judged, or ostracized, it's time to let go of those limitations. Release any fear of misusing your power. True strength doesn't dominate or manipulate. It's a gift from the Creator that dwells within you. You have the spiritual power that's born of sacred love, wisdom, and grace. This ability can heal others and bring light into the darkness.
Oh, so what are the keywords for this one? What is it? Oh,
That
is that
it's
the
just that
affirmation?
I am a radiant, glorious, powerful being.
Love it. Beautiful. So the opposite and counterpart to that is playfulness, which is a perfect complement because it doesn't always have to be so dang serious. You know, like we're like, oh, we're gonna go, change the world. And it seems so intense and freaking hardcore. But it doesn't. That balance of playfulness has to happen. I love the fairy energy, and that's my playfulness. That's my permission to play. My spirit animal is the dolphins, one of the many. But the dolphin always requires me to play whenever I do shamanic work. Like, they're like, we're not here to work. We're here to play. We're here to play. We're here to play. We're here to play. Play with me. Swim, play. I'm like, okay. And I have to surrender to that. Like, I'm like, oh, I have stuff to do. I'm here on a journey, and
Being.
Yeah.
It's the being, and the creativeness comes from that playfulness, right?
It
When
does.
We're like out of that do, we can be in that
Just be
playful. Yes.
So this one
yes.
actually has like a sandcastle. Just building a sandcastle. Something fun, like we were talking about, the creativity.
Allow your inner child to play today. Enjoy yourself and have fun. Embrace your innocence. Your soul wants you to know playfulness is absolutely necessary for your health and well-being. It's as important as the food you eat and the thoughts you think.
It is.
If your responsibilities and hard work have made this a low priority for you, it's time to have some fun. Give yourself a break and nurture your spirit by doing something madcap or just plain silly. Listen to music and dance by yourself with glee. Make silly faces. Invite friends over for an afternoon tea party. Or go for a drive with no destination, just for the fun of it.
So the affirmation?
My joy is the greatest gift that I give to others.
Okay, so let's say that one. My joy is the
greatest gift
that I give to others. My joy is the greatest gift that I give to others. All right, one more time.
My joy is the greatest gift that I give to others.
It's literally a gift you give yourself, because joy is the highest frequency. If any of you have studied the law of attraction, joy and appreciation are at the very top of the emotional guidance scale. You can go on Pinterest and Google the emotional guidance scale of the law of attraction and see where you are on that calibration. It's literally like a barometer of your emotions. And you might be stuck in frustration or irritation, anger. You might be even in a lower vibration. You might be somewhere in the middle, And so to get yourself into that place of joy, what is that? What is that? And I ask a lot of the girls on my calls when I coach them from my Yoga for Love online training programs. When my coaches and I are on the call, one of the questions I ask them is, what brings you the greatest joy? How can we support you in that? And so what brings you the greatest joy? What is that? What does that feel like? Not what does it sound like? How can I write it out? What does that feel like? What gives you that feeling in that heart space? That And the high heart, like coming up again, the turtle has to do with the high heart. There's a tortoise chakra that's between the heart and the throat, the thymus, and this is the center of self-love. And this center is all about, like, yes, the turtle does withdraw, the turtle goes within, the turtle has a safe space always, you know, but the turtle can pop out and swim and play and lay in the sun. And so what brings you that joy? Where you feel it up in the high heart and it bubbles up where you can speak it. You know, you might want to swallow it down and, oh, you know, I can't say it, but allow it to bubble up and speak it out loud. It's very important to break through. This is the bottleneck of the chakra system. It's the where things just kind of get stuck as you get up into the third eye and up into the spiritual
Get a beaver
realms.
dam in here.
Yeah, literally. Just, yeah, and you'll feel it. You're like, oh, you know, and so again, if that feels stuck, you can get your rattle and move the energy, and you know, use the tools. That's why we're here, to give you more and more tools as you do this work, to give you opportunities to join in with us if you want work with us, coaching you and holding space for you in a circle or at a retreat. So if you have any questions on any of the cards, just comment, and you know, we do read all the comments, and so we will reply to you within a timely manner. Also, we want to share just a few things that we have coming up. So the next event we have is our spring equinox ceremony. We do have a shamanic mastermind training. If you are already in the healing arts and you already have a mastery in some sort of healing, all realms of healing, allopathic or alternative medicine or Ayurvedic or, you know, energy work. But that might be something that you're wanting to dive way deeper in. So to back up, that's starting this month. We're doing a really deep dive year-long training. So there's an application for that, and so the prerequisite is that you do have some sort of mastery level in healing. And so that's on our website, yogaforlove.com/shamanic-mastermind. But the next events that we have coming up are our ceremony circles, the Divine Sight ceremony circles, and then we also have Inner Goddess retreats. So the Divine Sight ceremony circle is coming up on the spring equinox, and this is an in-person event. It takes place in North Texas, and we, again, like we mentioned, we celebrate with our ceremonies on equinoxes and solstices, as close to those 4 markers in the Celtic wheel of the year. And then we have a spring retreat in North Texas at Yoga for Love Inner Goddess Retreats, just south of Dallas, and that's at the end of April, beginning of May. It's the Cosmic Awesomeness. And then we're taking a field trip to the Cosmic Yogi Festival, so that's going to be so much fun. And so that's happening. There's lots of different stay options for that. And then we have our next retreat, which is Hawaii, and that's 5 months from now on the Big Island. And it's we're starting with a sacred plant medicine circle, which is optional if you get there a day early. And then we have a 6-day 5-night retreat on the Big Island in the Kona Cloud Forest on a beautiful sacred property surrounded by bamboos and palms and a sanctuary called B1. And this is actually just just pure magic. So we're really excited about that. We have really super affordable payment plans and also some stay options that are extremely budget friendly depending on the lodging that you choose. So you can check that out at yogaforlove.com as well, /retreats. We look forward to seeing you at the next live, and we'll be posting all the events on our page, Temple of the Sacred Heart. Any final words?
Thank you for joining. Thank you for showing up.
Yep. You just show up. That's all you gotta do. I gotta do. Thanks for being here, y'all. We really appreciate you. Love you so much. Namaste.